Imagine you wake up in the morning, look out the window, and there is no sun, no clouds, no eclipse, no storm, just a black sky. And the scariest part, in the first few minutes, you wouldn't even understand what happened. Because if the sun suddenly disappeared right now, you would have exactly 8 minutes and 20 seconds to subscribe to this channel before our planet is plunged into eternal, merciless, absolute darkness. Earth would still continue living as if nothing had happened. People would walk the streets, cars would drive, birds would fly, and then the light would simply switch off. And believe me, it would be much more terrifying than just an endless night. The first minutes. Let's start with the most interesting part. The sun is approximately 150 million kilometers, or 93.2 million miles from Earth. Its light takes about 8 minutes and 20 seconds to travel that distance. And then the moment no one expects would arrive. The sun's light would no longer come. The daytime sky would turn black. Stars would appear right in the middle of the day. But there is one more thing. At the same time, we would lose not only the sun's light, we would lose its gravitational influence, and this is where the real catastrophe would begin. Right now, Earth is moving around the sun at a speed of approximately 30 kilometers, or 18.64 miles per second. It is the sun's gravity that keeps our planet moving along its orbit. If the sun disappeared, that force would no longer hold Earth on its familiar path. But importantly, Earth would not fall somewhere downward, and it would not stop. It would simply continue flying forward along an approximately straight trajectory, together with the moon, with satellites, with us. In fact, our planet would become a gigantic cosmic traveler. Once, it was part of the solar system. And now, it would be flying into the darkness between the stars. The first hours. At first, the temperature would barely change, and that might seem strange. After all, the sun is gone. But the oceans, atmosphere, and surface of Earth have accumulated an enormous amount of heat, so we would not freeze instantly. During the first hours, the cooling would be gradual. In many regions, the temperature could fall to approximately plus 10 degrees Celsius, or plus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. But this would only be the beginning. The scariest part is that with every passing hour, the planet would lose more and more heat, and artificial heating systems would become more than just a comfort. They would become a matter of life and death. The first day. After approximately 1 day, temperatures in many places could approach 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Rivers would begin to freeze over. Lakes would freeze. Snow would begin accumulating even in places where it had almost never appeared before. But the biggest problem would be plants. Without sunlight, photosynthesis would practically stop. Plants would no longer be able to produce energy normally, and that means the entire food system of the planet would begin to collapse. Herbivores depend on plants. Predators depend on herbivores. Humans depend on all of these systems. And suddenly, something that had seemed stable for thousands of years would begin to fall apart after several days. After several days, the situation would become much more serious. In many regions, temperatures could fall to approximately minus 20 degrees Celsius or minus 4 degrees Fahrenheit and below. Imagine it. Streets that just a few days ago were filled with people. Now, covered in snow, cars sit abandoned, buildings gradually lose their heat, power grids become overloaded. People turn on every possible heating system, but there is less and less energy, and humanity realizes we don't just need to keep warm, we need to create an artificial sun, at least a small one. After weeks, the temperature would continue to fall. In many places, it could approach minus 40 degrees Celsius or minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is a special temperature, because at minus 40 degrees Celsius, the temperature is exactly minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, the same number. But for a human being, the difference no longer matters. It would be so cold that being outdoors without protection would become deadly. Cities would begin to die out, not because every person would die, but because the surface of the planet would become less and less suitable for life. People would begin moving to wherever there was warmth, underground complexes, nuclear power plants, geothermal sources, special shelters. Now imagine Earth several months later. The sun no longer rises. Temperatures in many regions could fall to minus 50 degrees Celsius or minus 58 degrees Fahrenheit and below. Forests would begin dying on a massive scale. Agriculture in its familiar form would become practically impossible. The surfaces of the oceans would begin to freeze. Gradually, the ice cover would become thicker, and the planet that had been blue for billions of years would begin transforming into a cold, dark world. But here is an incredible detail. The oceans would not freeze completely. Water has an enormous ability to store heat, and beneath Earth's surface is the planet's internal heat. Deep underground, temperatures remain much higher than at the surface, so the oceans would gradually freeze from the top. But beneath a thick layer of ice, the water could remain liquid. And this would be extremely important, because life could continue to exist there, especially near hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor. These vents receive energy not from the sun. They use heat from Earth's interior. And around them, even today, there are incredible ecosystems that can exist without direct sunlight. So even if Earth's surface became an icy desert, life could continue to exist beneath the ice. Now imagine Earth, several years later. Surface temperatures in many places could fall to approximately minus 70 degrees Celsius or minus 94 degrees Fahrenheit. Under certain conditions, even lower. Over the long term, the surface could approach approximately minus 75 degrees Celsius or minus 103 degrees Fahrenheit. And this would no longer simply be winter. This would be a new planet. A planet without sunrises, without summer, without green forests, without normal agriculture, without familiar life on the surface. But humanity might not disappear. Imagine a huge city underground. On the surface, minus 75 degrees Celsius or minus 103 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside, plus 20 degrees Celsius or plus 68 degrees Fahrenheit. People live in special complexes. Food is grown under artificial lights. Water is purified and reused. Air is filtered. Electricity is produced by nuclear reactors and geothermal systems. Trees do not grow beneath the sky. They grow inside enormous underground greenhouses. People look at an artificial blue sky displayed on screens, and children could be born who have never seen the real sun. And then a strange situation would arise. For us, the sun is an ordinary part of life. For a new generation, it could become nothing more than a legend. Electricity would become the foundation of civilization. In our world, electricity is a convenience. After the sun disappears, it would become the foundation of civilization. Without electricity, there would be no heating. Without heating, life. Without lighting, plants. Without plants, food. Without food, people. That is why nuclear power plants would become some of the most valuable facilities on the planet. Geothermal energy would also become enormously important. Earth has its own internal heat, and it does not depend on whether the sun is shining or not. But a problem would arise. Would there be enough energy for everyone? Imagine a world where there isn't enough heat. There is one underground complex. 10,000 people could live inside it. Outside, there is a brutal winter. Who gets inside? Who receives food? Who has access to electricity? Who controls the reactors? And who stays outside? Perhaps the greatest threat to humanity would not even be the cold. It would be people fighting for heat. Civilization could face the most difficult moral question in history. Can everyone be saved? And if not, who decides who gets saved? What would happen to the animals? For most large animals, the situation would be catastrophic. Without plants, the food chain collapses. Without warmth, many species simply would not survive. But some organisms could adapt, especially those living deep underground or in the ocean. Microorganisms could continue existing even under extremely difficult conditions, and that means Earth would not become completely dead. It would simply become different. Life would move to wherever energy still existed. Underground, under the ice, into the depths of the oceans. What would happen to the moon? The moon would not cease to exist. It would continue moving together with Earth. But without sunlight, it would also become dark. Its surface would gradually cool. The night sky would look incredible. Without the bright sun interfering with observations, the stars would become much more visible. The Milky Way would be visible practically all the time. For a person on the surface, this could be one of the most beautiful, and at the same time, most terrifying sights in the universe. Above you, billions of stars. Beneath you, a frozen Earth, and no sun. What about the solar system? If the sun truly disappeared completely, the problem would not only be Earth. All the planets would lose the main gravitational center of the system. Their orbits would change. Some objects could head into interstellar space. The solar system as we know it would effectively cease to exist, and our Earth would become one of what are called rogue planets. A planet flying alone through the darkness of the galaxy. Could humanity escape? And this is where the scenario becomes even more interesting. If the sun disappeared today, humanity would face an extremely difficult situation. But if such an event happened thousands or millions of years from now, we could be completely different. Maybe we would already have colonies on Mars. Maybe humans would live on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. Maybe we would create enormous space stations. Or perhaps we would learn how to build artificial worlds. And then the disappearance of the sun would not mean the end of humanity. It would become the greatest evacuation in history. Billions of people could leave Earth, and our planet would remain alone. Dark, frozen, silent. The sun seems eternal to us. It rises every morning. We almost never think about it. But our lives completely depend on this star. Without the sun, there would be no familiar climate, no majority of plants, no modern agriculture, no civilization as we know it. And even if humanity survived the first days, it would have to learn to live in a completely new world. A world without day, without summer, without solar warmth. A world where minus 70 degrees Celsius or minus 94 degrees Fahrenheit could become a normal surface temperature. And here another, even bigger question arises. The sun will not shine forever. Billions of years from now, it will change. Earth will change too. So the question is not only, what if the sun suddenly went out? Perhaps the real question sounds different. Will humanity have enough time to become a spacefaring civilization before its home star changes the fate of Earth? Maybe the future of humanity does not depend on how long the sun will live. Maybe it depends on how quickly we learn to live without it. And now tell me in the comments, if the sun began to fade tomorrow, what should humanity do first? Build underground cities, create an artificial sun, or search for a new planet? If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next incredible what if scenarios. And be sure to share your opinion in the comments. Maybe your answer will become the topic of the next video. See you In the next What If